Like to call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for February 2nd.
Recording in progress.
22. Roll call.
Arel? Here. Budke?
Here.
Kuhn?
Here.
Lunsky?
Here.
Matichek?
Here.
Reichert?
Here.
Sandy? Schumacher?
Here.
Wasvik?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, reading and approval of the minutes from the January 5th, 2022 meeting. Any comments, questions? Mr. Reichert.
Move approval.
Second by Mr. Budke. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved as provided. Public hearings, note 3, I don't see anything. Communications and preliminary approvals, item 4.
4-1, ordinance to amend Chapter 8 Land Development Code, amending Section 18-0301 relating to off-premise signs.
Mr. Brooks, good evening.
Thank you. So as we talk about off-premise signs, they're typically referred to as billboards. So a lot of times we use those interchangeably, but most people know them as billboards. Back in 2005, the city kind of did quite a few changes. One of the big things that came in at that time was the cap that we commonly say that the city of Grand Forks has, and we're a little unusual in that we have that cap. But that was put into place at that time. However, one of the things that was put into place when we did the cap was every decennial census that occurs, every 10 years when the census numbers come in, we were to increase that cap amount by 500 and for every 566 people that were added into the city, we would add a billboard. And the thought was that as the city grew in numbers of people, we would also grow the number of billboards. The other thing that would add in is as the city grows, ET area and those types of things, we would capture those new billboards as well during that time. So with this ordinance that we're proposing in front of you is simply to add in those new 11 new billboards, which is the math for every 566 residents. We would give 11 new billboards. So we're proposing to raise that cap and set that as well, and then keep everything else in code that says during the next census we would increase again by one billboard for every 566 residents. So with that, that's the ordinance that's before you. Happy to stand for any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Brooks? Yeah. Mr. Matichek.
What would our new number be?
112. So we're going to go from 101 to 112.
Okay. Is there some corridors that are blocked off to this, or is it just going to go anywhere?
Yeah, so code also has some other requirements. There's Columbia Road, 32nd, those are areas that code already says that you can't have off-premise, and there's some other, there's zonings that say where they can go and those types of things. So it's a little bit of a shooting match of where they can go. But I will tell you that right now, code says that billboard applications, they're good for a year, and we already have 11 that are waiting. Some of them will require your approval, because anything on South Washington, there is a cap and code that says how many can go. There's still some available, and one of the applications that we have would be along that corridor. The other ones, we're still doing final reviews, but all the rest of them, preliminary, quick look so far, everything else looks good, so.
So we won't get to see all of them unless there's a special circumstance.
Right, and I would anticipate there could be potential that there's going to be a lineup of applications that come in case something does get thrown out as well.
I can't remember if we decided we wanted to see those on the last go-around, or we didn't. If they met everything, I don't remember either. I thought we did. Mr. Matichek?
Yeah, how do you decide the first ones to apply or first ones you look at?
First come, first serve, yep.
So there'd be like 10 or 11, and then if you throw one out, somebody else will get in?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So right now, like I said, 11 are planned to be added, and there's already 11 on the list.
Okay.
And to get on the list, we needed to see the application that you're going to submit to the state, not necessarily have state signed already. And we needed, and as part of that application as well, we need to know that the property owner's on board with you go in there, which the state also has on their application as well. So those are the two things that we needed to see.
Any questions, comments? We got to move on it, I suppose.
That staff recommendation is to approve. There's not a public hearing requirement. I know that we have some folks here that are folks as well that are interested in seeing the ordinance passed, I think.
Andrew?
I'll move to approve. I'll second.
I saw Mr. Matichek first, but I did see you, Pete.
Give it to Pete.
Sounds good to me. Thanks, Mr. Kuhn. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? I don't see any hands or in TV land either. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 4-1 passes.
Item 4-2, ordinance to amend Chapter 8 Land Development Code to amend Section 18-10012 relating to changes to the zoning map and the notification to adjacent properties.
Mr. Brooks?
So we've had a lot of requests for questions about how far out we notify folks during a rezoning. Code has in there 400 feet.
Recording stopped.
Hopefully I didn't do that. So 400 feet is the required area for that by code. Planning Commission on occasion has asked us during preliminary, hey, can we go out further? And we've done that. But what we're proposing here, we're not looking to take away anybody's ability to do that, but we're proposing to double the area that we would go out to 800 feet. If somebody, let's say it was a large section of land and, you know, the thought was, you know, let's go to 1,000 or something like that, you still have the ability to do that, but 800, we'd never go below that amount.
Can you describe to me what 800 feet is and why you came up with 800 instead of some other number?
So far, I can go back to the 400. I simply doubled it. I'll tell you right now. But
I just guessed.
Old rule of thumb, I think when the 400 feet was, that was a city block. So
Okay, so
city
it's two
blocks were
blocks.
300 feet, yeah. And then 80 feet for a road, you know, that was the thought, I think, when they did 400.
So it's about 2 blocks.
It's about 2 city blocks, yeah.
Move approval.
Right. Second by Mr. Lunsky, I saw. Discussion, I couldn't agree more, even more if we wanted to. Okay. Mr. Matichek?
Yeah, are you taking, you said you're going to take out the legal description?
Yeah, so the other thing right now, it puts the onus on the property owner to get us, everybody who lives within that area. And we're just following, the procedure's never been that people
yeah.
get that.
I'd like to see us leave the legal description in there, because when somebody gets a notice, they might not exactly know where it is, but if they look up that legal description on the county website, they'll find out exactly where it is. So I know there's addresses here and there's other things here, but I think that legal note, the legal description, the legal actual description that's on your tax code, that's on your plat, that's on your property, I think that's important to leave in there.
So what we're taking out isn't that either.
Yep.
What was required is that the person that's making the application to us would have to get us all that information of all those legal descriptions around the property. So that hasn't taken place for many years. So when we still send this out, we send in, typically our forms describe the property. In town, it's pretty simple, it's a street address. And out in the county, it might be legal description.
So you'd still be leaving the legal description on the actual part that's going to be rezoned or replatted or annexed.
The only thing taken out here is the requirement from the requester to get us all that information. Right now, in actuality, we do that through the county through our GIS system.
Okay.
So we'll no longer require the applicant to get us that
Okay,
information.
that's fine, but
Yeah.
it'll still be on the parcel that
That's
it's going to
correct.
be, okay.
Yep, exactly.
Then I'm fine with it, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a motion second. Any further discussions? Seeing no hands, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, 4-1 passes. Reports from the Planning Department 2021 Annual Quick Synopsis. I mean, annual report. No pressure, Ryan.
So we can go as far as you want. We did provide the annual report for everybody to see. And we can certainly go through, we've had light meetings the last 2 times. I can certainly go through what we're expecting to come up in the coming meetings. I know one big interest on Monday night was Faulkner Township and the potential for the Fufeng project. That we're looking, just so everybody knows right now, we're expecting that in March and April of the coming months. So that's at least the time frame that we've heard so far from them. So that's when we do anticipate. There's a lot of other stuff going on as well. We see the potential for some future developments coming along Gateway Drive coming soon, in addition to potentially Curry coming with a new Grand Valley development south of 62nd. So before it was on the other side of Washington, we think it's going to be on the west side coming up. And then there's talk as well, 47th Avenue interchange. So we could go through all that, but I just want to make it known to everybody that be aware that meetings have been light, and for Jenny and John specifically, they will get much longer coming up. So I can hold off on that. The other thing, next Wednesday, some of you sit on the Land Use Plan Subcommittee. We're having our meeting starting at 9. That's free for anybody to attend. If you're interested, we can get you the logins to do that virtually as well. It'll be down in the basement of A102. So as most of you are aware, we've been in plans to go out to 2050 with that. So with that, I can entertain any other questions, but that's it for staff.
Mr. Matichek.
Since it's such a short meeting. Ryan, could you take me through the procedure of something like the corn facility plant coming here? We are planning and zoning. I don't think we've planned anything in the last 10 years. And we hear about these things, and it seems like, I don't know, was your department asked about location? Or I guess I'm kind of wondering why we didn't have a say in where stuff like this goes. I know we're going to get the plat and the rezoning and the annexation. We'll have plenty of fireworks then. But how does this procedure all start? How does it get this far? And does it go through your office at all, or what?
Well, we always have the land use plan as our guide of what we do, here in the city. We had a quick conversation today. 2045 plan shows, where we can do everything in the city. The next one's going to be updated. It'll be a 2050. We use that as our guide. But ultimately, I guess you're asking whether or not the early conversations with folks when they're asking, what can I do with this potential property I'm looking at? We use those guiding documents of land use plan, those types of thing. Because ultimately, just like everywhere else, it's, property ownership, there's rights in North Dakota and what can be done with property. And then ultimately they make the requests for plat, rezoning, those are still to come. In this case with something like the corn wet milling project, they've been in talks with the city in terms of what the infrastructure ability was in certain areas. So those have been long discussions, and those to ask the city come to planning and zoning and ask for rezoning even before they did that work, that would have been probably premature, because you're probably going to get ground into never being able to ever do a development if you've got to ask for rezoning even before you find out whether your project can go on a particular site. So,
I'm just kind of wondering how they get this far, how they plain old just get this far and been working on it for all these months or whatever, for even over 2 years, I guess, some of it's been going on. And, you know, I mean, I think if we are a planning organization, it's something this big at least, we should have had some type of a look at it, personally. And,
Mr. Riker?
I'm sorry, were you done, Frank?
yeah, for now,
Well, I think it raises a larger question of what we do in the extraterritorial, right? Because this isn't in the city limits.
Right.
If it's in the city limits, we've planned it, we've zoned it.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to put something there that we didn't expect, they got to come to us to get it changed. But we don't do that in the extraterritorial, you know, so.
we do have 2-mile extraterritorial ability around the city.
But we don't really do much out there, I mean, we don't have it.
It's difficult to do a development of any size within the 2 mile.
It's all ag, basically, isn't it?
For the most part.
There's some industrial out there where if a factory was going to come in, they'd probably get a building permit or whatever, but they would be zoned for it.
Yeah, and that's the request that's
Right.
coming before next month. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so that's
This property where this particular plant's going to go is still A1.
the zoning is A1 or A2, I can't
Could be
remember which,
A2, yeah.
But in the land use plan, it has identified it as industrial.
But there are parts out there that are I1, I2, out in the 2-mile range. You got commercial and residential in the 2-mile range too. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a few I1, I2s, Riley, where that area is, Minn Kota.
Mindac seeds, yeah.
Yeah, there's a few out there. Usually, they don't need a lot of city utilities because city water doesn't go outside of city limits for the most part. And a factory like this is going to need city water, so that's usually why they need to be located close enough to the city to get that service. I hope that's at least a quick enough explanation of some of those, so. So land use plan, very important. That'll be next week. That's the subcommittee, and happy to entertain any other questions you may have.
Mr. Mavchek?
Just one other thing. On the MPO studies, I assume that any bridge update's going to be on the transit plan?
Transportation plan. So yeah, I would anticipate, following on the heels of our land use plan is the transportation plan. So I think the thought is that the transportation plan will come in the next 2 years or year, April, May, for the transportation plan. To start, yeah. So the
Yeah,
transportation plan will start right on the heels of the land use plan.
We keep getting things about the MPO, and they're looking at this site and they're looking at that site. I'm not going to mention the streets, people know where they are. I guess I'm just concerned about how that procedure is going to go and what's going to happen there.
We voted to amend it coming out of this body
I
last time.
understand
And then it just got wiped away and now it's the same
Right,
thing.
Because
It's like Groundhog Day.
if they get an answer from planning and zoning they don't like, we never see it again.
You're right, agreed.
Typically, an MPO plan, you'll see that every 5 years as well. So that's kind of pushed out. Your representative on the MPO is Al Grasser still. And I think we vote on that, every 2 years, I think is what his term is. And just for everybody's awareness, the MPO executive director has put in his resignation effective for the end of this month. So there will be some changes there. Retirement.
Is that Earl?
Resignation.
Earl?
Earl Hogan, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So there'll be changes on the MPO coming up.
How long are our terms as officers? Are we
5 years. So you're out to 26.
Yeah, you just got me up.
as officers?
Oh, as officers, that'll be next January. They're 2 years.
Oh, that way, yeah, we're 2 years.
And there's no, to my knowledge or recollection, there was no cap on number of terms.
You're in this position.
No, good stuff. Anything else? Frank, great points today. We did have open time for other things, so thank you for that.
I think our terms are 3 years, though, right?
Yeah,
For you out-of-towners?
Yeah, by the county commission.
I thought there were 5.
Is it
Yeah.
5?
It is in the annual report, I think we,
Whatever, yeah.
What are you trying to say?
Right at the beginning of our- is when-
Frank, you expire and, your term expires 2023. Yeah, Pete and, Steve, you guys were just reappointed.
Yeah.
This year, so you guys are out to 2026. I don't know how the thing, I don't know how they, work those, in the ET area, but those are county appointments.
2026. Frank expires 9/13/2023.
Yeah.
2023?
Yeah, you got another year, buddy.
I'll call Marlins.
Plan ahead.
Other business, adjournment, look for a motion. I got 3 of them, pick one. So moved. Meeting adjourned.